Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Ricky,
so we can get naked.
you can't say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Welcome to episode number
85.
All right, folks, we're glad to be back with you after a week off. Appreciate you guys sticking with us. Hopefully you enjoyed our number one podcast out there, which was the second one we ever did. It's kind of fun to go back and listen to, but it was a good one, so I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we're going to add to a little bit of that spice today because I think that one was so popular because of one word in it.
Eroticism.
Yes.
Or the differences of sexual desire, which is a big topic. When we go back and think about the journey that we've been on, we spent a lot of time in frustration for sure. I was really trying to connect with Amy, but doing a terrible job of it as we've talked about it, right? And as I progressed out of that and I learned that I could not seek validation from Amy and I could not extract that from her, which I was trying to do through my sexuality and through having sex with her. And I gave her that space to go figure out what she actually desired. It set off a bunch of things that went into motion. I think we've brushed on those over the podcast, but we really haven't gone into detail on some of these things that were really important for us to work through what it looked like to have a great desire, what it looked like to have this true connection, and how this actual sexual encounter worked, right? I know we talk about it is the connection and the emotional part of it, yes. But if it's just emotional and the physical sex doesn't work, that's not what we're looking for either, right? So there is some techniques and some things that we've learned over the time about the physical intimacy that's really helped us. And we want to dive into those juicy tidbits.
Yeah, so today we're taking a little detour from principles and ideas and meanings, which are all very foundational, and going more into the actual techniques of sexual intimacy. And we're hoping that this helps. I think it's important to create the meanings, to create the emotional connection, to create the foundation, and then to be generally informed about how your anatomy and your spouse's anatomy and arousal and desire works.
So when I finally backed off and stopped being a crazy man and I gave you space, I think it was a little scary for you.
Yes.
At that moment, did you understand your body and how it worked and what arousal? We hadn't completely had no orgasms before that, but I think there was a kind of lack of knowledge about how this all worked for you.
Well, I think there was more of like, that was your department.
Yeah.
And so there was more dependence on you to, create or produce. And then if we're in this together as partners, that meant that shifted back to some of my own personal accountability and integration. And the shift was absolutely necessary. But yeah, anytime you're like, whoa, I got to figure something out, like that's a little uncomfortable.
I find that so interesting because I think you hit something that was really important, kind of just glossed by it, but this was something that was put squarely as me as an owner to go do. And we get confused around it a little bit because as the more spontaneous person where the desire was there for me, it still was a drag owning your sexuality or owning your arousal. Now we've come to learn one of the greatest turn on for me is to watch you be turned on and me being able to turn you on. But that took you taking ownership of that and be able to do it, not me like, okay, I'm pushing these 5 buttons in a sequence and it's not happening with this expectation, or me having to own the whole sexual experience from the moment that we did foreplay to the end of whatever we thought was the end of it, right?
Right. And so this is where a lot of people get stuck. They're like, I don't want to be the one in charge of starting up my spouse. And yet it is so enticing to be able to be generous. And so there's like this little gap in between there, not taking ownership, but also really enjoying being generous. And I think it's subtle, but it's huge.
And when I see, for me, the difference was when I saw you take ownership of your sexuality and you were more than willing to find pleasure, whether I was there or not, and it was pleasure for you and you were okay with that, Then the knowledge of knowing that I was spontaneous and that you were responsive and that we needed to be in a place for a little while before you to get to a place where you wanted to be aroused. And that may make it so I have to initiate or help start that. It doesn't become such a big deal. And there's guys all over. I repost every week over and over again where guys are just so down because they feel like they have to initiate everything. They have to start everything, that nothing gets done if it doesn't take them doing it. And a part of that is true because of the spontaneous and responsive desire. But in the end, when you take ownership of your own sexuality, you are the one that's in charge of making sure that happens, not anyone else.
Right. So just because you're spontaneous doesn't mean you own my desire. And just because I'm responsive doesn't mean I own yours.
Right.
We still each are responsible for our own desire and our own integration. And I think what changes is, instead of the spontaneous person feeling like they're completely in charge, they know that their spouse is invested. And
Yes.
like, this is just maybe some time, or
This is how we put the wood out to get
this
the
is how
fire
we
going.
create the space
Yeah.
for this to be able to happen. But it's not all on you.
Yes, you want it to happen.
Yes.
You're not performing for me, so it's not
Right.
duty. And you're just as invested in this taking place because it's such a pleasurable thing for you. And when
And
I
I
over there
think that
trying to
was the
push,
big
that was the
shift.
big shift.
The
Huge
big
shift.
shift was from performance and pleasing you to, no, this is for me.
Yeah. Because
This is
your
for
body
my
had
own
worked.
pleasure.
It's not like it didn't work.
Right,
But
it
it never
worked.
had been for you. It had been for me.
Right. And that means it wasn't all that, like, afterwards, enjoyable and pleasurable. Yes, was there pleasure in the moment? Yes, of course. But the like long lasting, connecting, like relational pleasure wasn't there.
Well, and that was the crazy thing that blew my mind, is I didn't realize that you could disconnect the two, right? Because I could
No.
not. And I'd watch your physical body react and find pleasure in this moment. And then 10 minutes later, I'd find you completely disconnected in a mood. It had been awful. And I'm
Right.
like, this doesn't add up. This can't get it add up. And it really was that key of you taking ownership for yourself and being in this because you received pleasure and that's what you wanted. Now we danced around and let's get right to it. What are some of the things that you did to go, oh my goodness, I got to figure out how I find pleasure for myself?
Well, I think that's the very first thing. This is for me. This isn't for you. There's a healthy selfishness in that, and healthy ability to say, I'm going to enter into this context for enjoyment, for pleasure, like, period. This is my why. And the other reasons of, to manage your emotions or to keep you happy or to sort of stave you off for a little bit, none of those actually create any desire or pleasure. And so I think the very first step was, this is for me. This is for my own pleasure. And if it's for my own pleasure, I've got to actually be aware of what's happening in my body and what is pleasurable, and not handing that off to you. Like, okay, you figure out how I work. You figure out what is pleasurable. This was like, no, this is mine.
Was it literally the space I gave you? Because there's so many things you had to overcome at that point, right? There was your whole upbringing and what you were taught about sex and sexuality went completely against what you just said.
Yes, because women are supposed to be needless and wantless. And so in order to claim, not only do I want this, but I'm going to enjoy it, is against the grain of what I had been taught. But
So what
also,
finally clicked then?
it was almost like, well, it's got to be something else in what we've been doing. It's kind of like, why not try enjoying it and just see what happens?
Well, that's completely opposite. Maybe that will work.
Yeah. Like, this isn't working, so why not this? And it wasn't that I hadn't heard that. It was like, well, let's get that a try. Like, let's see what happens. And in that also led to me wanting to know more about my own anatomy, more about what other women had learned. And so this led me into, like, Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are. This led me to sites like omgyes.com. That is a site where, I remember the originator of it, but she interviewed 30, 40,000 women and asked, okay, What helps bring you pleasure? What do you enjoy? What types of touch? What types of techniques? Because it's not something that we ever talk about as
You don't go
women.
to lunch with all your girlfriends and talk about your clitoris?
No,
Oh, okay, cool.
not at all. And so it led to me researching places that I felt were valid. Like, I wasn't going into illicit places, but also like gathering knowledge and having the freedom to experiment and try.
I think that's so important because it's so scary out there. There's a lot of information, and some of it's disinformation, and some of it's almost like even Hollywood acting, right? If you go into
Right.
the porn area, those women aren't real. They're not having real experiences. They're acting. And so all those things can be misleading. We know that's kind of one of the reasons porn is problematic, is that it shows something that's not real. And so it was so wonderful for you to come upon this resource where it literally was like good girlfriends sitting around and saying, "Hey, this is what I've experienced and I want to share this with you."
Right. And very helpful, very insightful. I do have to just put a disclaimer on there. There are some explicit videos in there, so you don't have to watch the explicit videos, but the explicit videos are demonstration videos. All the information can be gleaned from reading or from their very tasteful pictures, but they do have a lot of just information that, I unfortunately didn't have a friend or a sex therapist or someone say, okay, teach me about my vulva and my clitoris.
Right.
And for women, it really is about the clitoris. Now, I won't say you start with the clitoris. I would say we have secondary
Greg
and
likes to start with his like, oh, slap. And don't go there yet.
secondary and primary zones. Secondary are like your wrist, your thighs, your stomach, your neck, your back. And most women need to start in there. If you think responsive desire is sort of starting at a level of 0, like the sexual tension, that good sexual tension that comes in arousal, that good sexual energy hasn't accumulated yet, where spontaneous comes like already alive and in that sexual tension. And so you have to think about, we talk about starting the fire, you starting with the small little kindling and letting it grow, and you're slowly growing this, right? Adding a little bit more, a little bit more. So starting with those secondary zones, because they're a little less sensitive and they're a little bit more able to start warming the body up. And also what's really important for myself and for women is to be relaxed. And to be in that relaxed state, a lot of times, massaging the legs, the back, the arms, the hands, the neck, touching those, rubbing those, circling those does help bring about that relaxation. And in order to be in a state that prepares you for that good arousal and desire, you have to start out really relaxed.
Well, we talk about also there's all the other things going on in your mind you got to shut down. We've talked about that a lot. But in the physical act itself, you're completely right. And I try to remind Amy, okay, when I get you to that place where you're actually turned on, you're like, you better keep going or I'm going to die. I try to remind Amy that's how I wake up every morning.
Right.
That's the problem, not the problem. That is the challenge that we have. And if we fight that challenge and try to get angry about it, it never does anything well. If we realize it's a challenge and take it as a challenge and figure out, okay, I am in this completely overwhelmingly turned on state and I just want you. And I realize that if I go straight for your clitoris right now, it's going to be way too much and I'm going to get slapped. How do we get to that same place? It's a challenge, but it's fun. Like if you put it in that way and you understand it, it's a fun challenge.
And I would say for spontaneous desire, it actually is really good to be in that arousal and allow it to edge and layer. It actually increases your experience and your pleasure. So slowing down, taking some time is actually better for you.
It is absolutely true. And it's hard to remember that in the moment, but it's absolutely true. When you can slow down and go through this place, I talk about being centered before we start, getting out of my head in all the places, taking out all the outcomes. These are all pieces of it, but even in the physicalness of it, like not going straight for the genitalia, let's go, we're going to hammer this out quickie, but slowing down and enjoying it really makes it way more enjoyable, even for me.
Yeah.
Can I put a little warning here to my spontaneous friends? I mess up all the time so I can help you not do the same thing. So let me tell you how I messed up a little bit on this one. When we went through this, I talked about how I finally did the right thing when I said, Amy, I'd never want to have duty sex again. And I backed off and I said, I don't want to engage with you until we're ready to actually do this together in a healthy way. We've been asked 1.5 million times how long that gap was, and we cannot figure it out. So that's the key. Is that's not the question. If you're asking questions, it's going to take 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then you're not in the right mindset.
Or 2 months or 6 months. We don't know.
So when I gave that space and Amy started finding these resources, the thing that I keep messing up is that I would get so excited and I would try to take ownership of those resources. And I would jump in there and I'm like, oh, I want to go study OMGS and I want to
Maybe
learn
like,
about
let's
it.
study this
And
tonight.
let's
Do
do this
this.
tonight. And Amy had to be really literal with me and say, go away, like back off. And
I
it
didn't
hurt a
say it
little
like
bit,
that.
but you didn't say in those exact words, but you had to be pretty
I
straightforward.
said, I need to own this. And if you keep coming in and dominating, there's no room for me to actually own this. So I appreciate your interest, but like, let me do this.
So if you're getting excited out there as a spontaneous person, which I would have definitely done if I listened to a podcast and someone told me about OMGS, and Amy thought, maybe I should try it. I was all over that and very encouraging, more encouraging. I wanted to see it. I wanted to learn about it. I had to learn that I had to step back and allow Amy to lead out in this area. Now, eventually, when we got to a good point, she was able to share it with me, and I was able to learn some of these techniques. And that was very helpful too, because just her knowing how it was one thing, but as we could share it together, it was very helpful. But
So
just a warning out there.
right. You were like the over-functioning sexual self, and I was like the under-functioning, underdeveloped one. And so this was me saying, I need you to not over-function here so that I have enough space and room to develop. And then we can come back and partner. And it's not that I want to exclude you from this, but you've got to give me a chance to develop this first, or I can't actually partner with you.
It took the trust though, because that had for 17 years, we talked about you going and taking ownership of it and it never happened. Right. And so I can see why spontaneous people get so frustrated because they feel like they're doing all these things to help the relationship. Usually they're doing all those things to help themselves and get something out of it. And that's the problem with it. But even when your responsive desire spouse takes the lead on it, I can see why it's very, very tempting to jump in and overfunction, because of just like in everything else we talked about, as those behaviors change, as we stop begging for validation, it takes a little while for our partners to believe, because they've had the pattern for so long that it's been different. And this was for sure a different pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we talk a lot about simmering. Simmering is a great way to keep that touch, that affection, that like little fire of passion and eroticism lit. Of course, we encourage that every day. And that is an important part of foreplay. Foreplay is like crucial for women and crucial for the capacity to really enjoy themselves. And if that goes too fast, it doesn't really allow the pleasure to develop.
It's like watching Survivor when they battle with fire, building fire. And it's totally about building fire, and they get this flame. If they start throwing too much stuff on this thing, puts the flame out.
Right.
If they start blowing too hard on this flame, it puts it out. So don't start blowing on your partner too hard. It will put them out. And it is good for the spontaneous person to learn how to go through
some
this
restraint,
some restraint,
patience.
because when you do those restraint, when you're actually engaged in it, it heightens the excitement about it, and it heightens the feelings you're in. So we've got this picture. We're going to spend some time getting in a place mentally where you've closed everything down. We're going to spend some time where you're feeling physical touch in a way that's not in a way of asking for sex or moving forward or having expectation. And you're going to be in your body, and your body's going to calm down, and it's going to start to get aroused. And then what?
And then you start to move more to the primary zones. These are the genitalia. These are the lips, the breast, and for women, a lot of it, like the magic organ is the clitoris. And the clitoris is really the center of pleasure. That's the only purpose it has. And it is actually sort of like a wishbone that goes down the side of the vulva, but also all of these nerves that come all the way back up in through the pelvis. And so it's like this whole network of nerves and sensory experiences And yet we only see like a little tip of it. And so knowing that the clitoris winds in through the vulva and also into the top of the vagina, a lot of people refer to as the G spot, is actually the back of the clitoris and all the way up and through the pelvis. And knowing how to stimulate and what types of stimulations and sensations work for your spouse is like crucial.
Right. And this is just like we talked about where there's the foreplay as we move into this area and as you start to be able to arouse the clitoris. If you go straight for the tip of the clitoris, you're done, like game over, right? It's so sensitive in that area. And until you're in a full arousal state, even coming close to it, for most women, it's just way too much. And so this is where the technique, and this is what OMGS does so well for you. It's different for every woman, but we have all these women explaining to us like, this pattern is what does it for me. Starting here on the clitoris is what does it for me. This rhythm does it for me. This is how I build up to it. And they explain the whole thing. Now, one other thing I wanted to say is, yes, Amy talked about there's explicit videos on there, but there's nothing like explicit as in pornographic, really. Yes, they're naked. You're watching a woman pleasure herself, but not in a way to get you off. It's like literally they're showing you how that pleasure happens. And they don't even take them to climax in these videos or anything like that. And so I'm just saying that by, yes, if that is something you don't want to do, don't do it, but don't automatically reject it because you think, hey, I'm about to look at pornography. There's a lot of good input as you watch these women explain how they find pleasure, because as Amy explained, this system, it's like a complex system of nerve endings and things like that. And if you just only know that there's one tip of the clitoris, and this blew my mind, we were in a retreat, and I think 75% of the women didn't even know they had a clitoris.
And some of their husbands didn't either.
And either their husbands, they didn't even know it existed. So just finding out what that is. But if you're just looking at the tip that you can see and you're starting there, you're missing all the things
That's like
around it.
10% of what's there.
And by the way, I know this gets frustrating at times, but if you can go with this one other two, it's not the same every time. Like, I wish I could rinse and repeat. Like, oh man, I rubbed your clitoris this way. I'm going back at it today. What happened yesterday was great. And Amy's like, that sucks. that does not, there's no filling there. And so it's like this great puzzle that you get to discover every time about how are we going to work this out to be able to get these desires we want. And there's nothing more pleasurable for me than watching Amy get turned on in this way. And it's not frustrating at all if Amy goes, that's not working, let's try something else. I'm like, okay, well, let's try something else. If we can say it in that way, right?
Yeah.
If there's no like, hey, stop it, like, don't do that.
Or I
It's
think
literally, let's partner
a lot
together.
of times it's like, oh, over here, babe, or a little to the left, or
Or
I'll
too
just,
fast,
or
too
I'll
slow.
take your hand and just guide
Yeah.
it.
Or you'll show me.
Yeah. Or I'll
Like
show
literally,
you.
I'm like, okay, it's your turn. We get to take turns here.
Yeah,
show
show
me,
and
show me
tell.
what, show me what's going on. And that is actually, to be honest with you, the best learning experience I've had is allowing Amy to show me what feels good. And it's still, again, like our culture has talked about, well, is that okay? Can you masturbate? Like, touch yourself? Oh, that's.
I don't even think that's masturbating. I think
I think that's ridiculous.
I think it's just being able to learn your body and know it.
Part of being married, and like she knows how it feels and she gets exactly the response back, right?
I'm the
Most of the
only
time
one
it's-
receiving the feedback.
Yeah.
So, like, how is he supposed to?
Why wouldn't you spend some time showing your husband, no, this is what it feels? And that goes back to when you learn for your first, you got to learn for yourself what it feels like, right? You've got to take the time to explore, because you're not going to just out of the blue all of a sudden understand this very complex organ that has all these different endings. You're not just all of a sudden like, oh, this is how it feels good.
Right. And there isn't a right or wrong. So some women are extraordinarily sensitive, and so maybe they need a sheet or a layer. Some women like up and down, some like pulsating, some like circling, some like tapping, some like it more down into the vulva or in the backside of the vagina where the G spot is. Some like it higher up towards the mons. They have a lot of sensation there. Some like teasing, some like a certain rhythm, some like skipping on and off, some like tapping, some like gliding, some like pushing the skin, some like more firm massage. And so there's all like literally hundreds of different ways. And I don't say that to discourage you, but just to say there isn't just one
that
way.
should excite you, because you talk about you don't want it to get boring, like you don't want it to be bland. We get to figure out this puzzle every time together. And by the way, we're talking about the clitoris here, but there's this whole other sets of genitalia on a woman, the breasts, that come into play too, right? And
Yes.
some days it's like, Amy's like, you need to start here on the right one because the left one doesn't want it, right? Even the little, like, the left nipple's out today, right nipple today only. And understanding when that comes into play and when that feels good and when it doesn't and when you can switch back and forth. It's like orchestrating this great revival of fun together, right? When you
Right.
do it right.
And you learn how to stimulate maybe with your hands or your body parts or maybe with your mouth. And you learn different techniques for all of those. And you get to learn together.
Right. And I go back literally, you can get really good at something. Like you could be terrible at oral for a while and then it gets better. And for me, I just want to rinse and repeat. And I go back to try the same thing and Amy's like, not working today. I got to try something different. So even in, am I using my hand today? Am I using my mouth today? Am I using my penis today to do this? Like there's so many things to be able to do this. Are we bringing a toy in to be able to do this? All these things,
Are we
variety,
changing the
are we position
angle?
angles,
Are we adding pillows?
so many different ways, but the spontaneous person's going to want to rinse and repeat because it felt so good last night or the 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago. Doesn't matter because frequency is not important. It felt so good then. We should just try this again.
Right. So what I'm hearing is for spontaneous, it's to stay open.
Yep.
And for the responsive, it's to stay communicative.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And stay in it. If there ever gets to a point, and I think I've gotten good at seeing this, because sometimes the problem is you don't have a lot of time. We're tired. Like, and so you got to realize sometimes that you're not going to, our friend says, on the weekdays, you can do quickies, blow my mind on the weekend, right? Because that's the space that we have. And it's kind of like the simmering part. Some days we're going to have more quick experiences, but does that make them bad or wrong? No. And then there's going to be these moments when we get this time that we can have these long, exploratory, wonderful events. And maybe that's only when you go away on vacation together. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But realizing it's not going to be rinse and repeat at the same time. And the techniques that we use and the time that we have to do it in and the outcomes that we get, it's going to be so different. And if you can leave your mind open to be able to enjoy each one of those outcomes together, it just gives you the space to learn and to grow and to enjoy this.
I think one of the biggest things for me was really actually to remove outcome because it's kind of like if I'm thinking I have to fall asleep, I have to fall asleep, I have to fall asleep, the last thing I'm going to do is fall asleep,
Yep.
right? And if I'm thinking I have to climax, I have to climax, like the last thing that's give me time
Right.
is a climax. And so not that that is the outcome that has to happen, but even just really going into every sexual experience for enjoyment, period.
Yep.
The enjoyment of experiencing whatever pleasure, arousal, desire is present and for however long that is present and to share that with you. That's like the sum total of it.
Yep. And even when we get to this point where we're getting good at this clitoral thing and it's brought us tons of pleasure and you tons of pleasure and me watching you have pleasure, it's taken a long time. And it's only since recently that we've learned how to integrate that with penis and vagina sex, right? With intercourse itself.
Because there
Because
isn't
there is-
a
yeah.
lot of sensation in the vagina.
No, and it's a very small percentage of women that can actually orgasm
Very small.
with using the intercourse. And
Penetrative
so,
intercourse.
Yeah, penetrative intercourse. And so I would have to say, and I keep on asking Amy, like, I'm not 100% sure what's changed over the last year or so, but being willing to learn new things and change up positions and be able to leave the clitoris exposed so there can be clitoral stimulation while we have
Different positions.
while we're entering the vagina.
Different angles, different. Yeah.
It's changed. And for the spontaneous guys, and we talk about a lot of stress around being able to perform and, ED and premature ejaculation. And there is real stuff that happens there and there's things we can do to help it. But this is what I've discovered. When you are in the state of working together, you've erased the outcomes, you're willing to try and be open, that allows your spouse to react in a way that is positive, right? And for me, those positive reinforcements, not faked, but real, like I'm penetrating and this feels good, that has been the greatest Viagra I've ever found.
You're talking about just like the pleasures, moans or groans
Yeah,
or like,
and like I'm not saying go fake it because that won't help you,
no,
right?
please don't pick anything ever. I keep
But what I'm trying to say is that as that feedback has come from me, that has allowed me to perform in ways that I never thought capable, right? I just didn't think it was, I just think I thought I can't do that. I'm going to need some kind of drug to help me do that. But it really has changed the ability to be able to do that.
I think too, your ability to calm down and stay in the moment, because when you would jump too far ahead of the moment and be thinking too much ahead, that made it harder for you to be in those maybe slower moving engagements.
Right.
So you learned how to sort of like regulate yourself more, which then has brought you more pleasure and allowed you to sustain like just the arousal.
We've gone through a lot of different things and talked about them. Hopefully we've given you some resources to go find out on your own and encourage you to look at this in a different way, find out ways that we can actually learn our bodies and the way that they're aroused so that we can work together to do it. We want to pivot a little bit and talk about why that works. Why does it change the way that we interact sexually if we pivot away from male centric sexuality or spontaneous centric sexuality and we pivot more over to the responsive female side?
I think what it allows is more collaboration and more partnership, and it brings deeper meaning and actually more novelty. The novelty is really found in the vulnerability of the learning and growing and the slowing down and being more seen. You can have sex that is very non-intimate, that reaches climax or whatever, but it doesn't actually reveal. And so this willingness to share yourself and explore and give feedback and learn and not be rushing towards an outcome opens up a lot of possibility for vulnerability, for more eroticism, for more exploration. And I think that's what makes it so amazing. I think it also flips the general roles. I have found sexuality to be a place where men tend to be extraordinarily generous and women get to be the receivers of that generosity. And it works very well for both. When women learn how to receive it and to see it as the gift for what it is, the gift of loving admiration and the expression of respect and desire and connection. And that allows them to step into this space and to receive what is being offered, which is good for you and good for them, right? Female centric sex is the woman knowing that her body is the symbol of eroticism and allowing her body to bring that eros energy. It has nothing to do with the size or shape or anything. It just is. The female body is the symbol of eroticism. It is what is erotic. And so as you allow that body in whatever form or state it's in to be erotic, it allows the husband, the male, to generously enjoy. And the more that he gives and she enjoys, it's like mutually beneficial.
Yeah, a huge part of this is, I don't know how long I've told Amy this, and I keep telling her this because it's hard for her to see this, is that being sexy has nothing to do with the size of look of your body. Like you could be one shape or the other shape. And in your mind, if you feel sexy and that your body is that form of sexuality and that form to arouse somebody, you are going to be sexy. If you shut it down because you're like so worried about, oh my goodness, I have a little fat here, or my breasts aren't big enough, or my vagina is not the right shape, or my ass is too small, whatever it might be, if you're in that mindset's going to shut that down. And I can't tell you how many people we've coached. The wives just cannot believe that their husbands are attracted to them.
And they are
And their
attracted to them.
husbands are like, listen, I want you so bad and I'm attracted to you. If you could just get the hell out of the way. We talk about the men to get out the hell out of the way. This is your turn, women. Get the hell out of the way.
Let yourself be attractive.
Let it be attractive.
Let it
Now,
be
that doesn't mean, I'm
desirable.
not saying you got to stand in the mirror and turn yourself on by looking at your body. I mean, that's cool if you can do it. But that's not what we're saying. We're not saying that you have to instantly be aroused. Although, over time, if you allow yourself to be the center of eroticism, that will happen too. But if you will let go and take that as true sincerity that your husband truly does desire you and wants you. Now, a large percent of you have had husbands that have viewed pornography, and this is going to be a blockage in this area, right? Because you're going to be thinking to yourself, oh, he's looking at me and he wants that body, the perfect body, the pornography body, that version of it. And from experience, let me explain a little bit. And it's really hard to understand. And I felt almost dumb when I tried to explain it, but this is the truth. It's not the shape of the body or what it looks like. I'm not turning down that there's not attractive things that happen. There is a reason why young women look the way they are, because nature made them that way so that when they're fertile, people are attracted to them. But what it really is during that moment, as these people are acting and these things out, that person is saying, I am desirous, you want me, and I want you, and this is what sexuality is about, and that's the turn on. And so, as hard as it is to hear, women, and the blockage that it is, understanding that your husband really wants you, and that he's been begging to have that experience with you and be chosen with you, and desires, and that's what he desires more so overall. I'm sure there's some jerks out there that is not that way, but from 99.9% of the couples that I've coached, almost 100% of them have had pornography be involved with it. So let's not pretend like it's not a thing. It is a thing. And out of those 100%, a very high percentage of them, the husband just wants his wife and desires her very, very much.
Very much. And they share that with me with their wives not there. They have no reason to share that with me other than I really desire my wife and I wish she could see how attractive and beautiful and how desirable she is.
And when she puts that block up and doesn't feel that way, or is like, I'm not going to act in this way towards you because I don't think you really want me, it's near impossible to get there. And it really is the get the hell out of the way part of it is like, you got to allow yourself not to put your own lenses on. I told Amy, if I could pluck my eyeballs out of my head and put them in your head so you could see yourself with me, you couldn't fathom what I see. It would be mind blowing to you. And I have to say, I'm so grateful because over time, those eyes of Amy have evolved to be closer to mine. And she can appreciate her body and what it is. And she can appreciate that she's sexual and then that she's an arousal. But it took a lot of hard work to do. And I'm just telling you, wives, like literally your husbands just want you, period.
And they want you not because you're just a body.
Right.
They want you because your wholeness is represented by connecting to that body. Your personality, your character, all of the traits about you are encapsulated in that body. And so being close to your body is connecting with all of those. That gets misconstrued and misunderstood all the time.
Right. There's nothing more turn on for a man than to watch his wife get turned on, knowing that she's engaged with him, right? And that this is a moment to be engaged in. And I get more angry than anything else. I've done this with the retreat when people say, oh, they just want a place to put it. Like we're not that shallow. Yes, we may be a little more on the edge and we talk about it more and our desires are more on the open and we're more of the spontaneous, but we're not that shallow. We want to period, cutting through all the bullshit and getting to it. We want to be chosen. And the chosen part is you being willingness to say, here I am sexually and I am attractive and I want you to consume me in the most consumable way. Like just take me.
Knowing that you are very worthy of being consumed.
Yes.
Yes. And that's, I think, a lot of what our work is as women is to know that we are the symbol of eroticism, that we are erotic, that our bodies are capable of arousal and desire. Does it look different? Yes. Does that mean it's any less capable? Absolutely not.
More capable.
And to
I don't have an organ that has all those intricate things that have like you have an organ that's all it does. I don't have an organ that's all it does. No. So you have way more capacity for this than we do.
yes, but it takes a little bit of space and understanding and some relaxation and maybe some permission to allow yourself to go there.
Something came to my mind that reminded me, and we weren't specifically talking about the erotic parts of this, but we did have a group coaching call the other day when we got on it and we watched a couple and there literally was pillows between them, right? And we're like, something's going on. So we cued in on that. And I say this because it was the point where I was trying to just describe to the wife, like, your husband desires you. He wants to connect with you. He wants to know about your emotions. And she looked at me and said, he does? And he's over there like shaking his head.
Yes.
Yes, Greg, you got it right. And I doubled down on it and I told her again. And at that very moment, those pillows literally went away. And she scooted over and her head leaned onto his shoulder. And by the time we were done, they were connected to each other in this way. It was just a reminder of that thought in her mind is what it melted every ice there was in between her. He really just wants me and desires me.
And I think as women, we sometimes really see our husbands inaccurately and see their desire only as consuming. And I think you're missing the generosity and the goodness of it. And so there needs to be some space for that.
And don't get me wrong, like we messed it up big time. When we seek validation and trying to extract it from you, then it's not what Amy just said. So our job is to get out of that mindset of extraction and validation so that we can truly give freely.
Moral of the story here is, women, you are the turn on. Men, they really enjoy allowing you to bringing you to that state, and they aren't responsible for it, but they do enjoy the process. And that is mutually beneficial for both of you. Really, the goal is enjoyment together. That's it. Like, it's not about an outcome. It's not about like, we have to do X, Y, Z, and this is the best position or worst position. But there is some learning and understanding of how do our bodies come together in ways that we both enjoy.
Right.
And that's what we were trying to touch on today.
So please go invest in yourself a little bit. We've given you some resources to go take in, and spontaneous guys, get out of the way and don't jump in and take ownership. Don't overfunction this area. Allow your wives to do this and be willing to learn and to enjoy when you do that. But there's some resources to give you. And also we've coached hundreds of couples through this, right? Helping them understand what is desirable for them to begin with and how their bodies work through this and what they can do to have this enjoyable experience. And we would love to do the same for you. And please just go up and click that consult button. It takes 45 minutes for us to chat. And if that's all we get, that's great. I don't know what's stopping you because it's free 45 minutes. Believe me, we're not heavy sales pitch people. Our marketing person is reminding us.
We need to sell more.
We need to be better at sales pitch. So you don't have to worry about the
yeah.
heavy sales pitch at the end. It's literally, we want to help you. And if we can do that in 45 minutes, that's great. If you would love to continue to be with us, that's wonderful too.
We have lots of ways to do that through
We have
our
a lot of ways to do it.
group coaching program, which starts Monday, May 4th. You can try us out for a week. Your first week is free. And after that, it's only $67 a month. There's a call every single week that you can join. And if you can't join the call, you can watch the replays. And there are other videos there for you to watch. We are adding to the content library all the time.
Yep. It's fun.
Yes, it is fun. And adding worksheets and videos and different things. So that will just continue to expand as we go. And we also have private coaching. Some people don't like to be in a group. Some people really love it. And so we have all different options for private coaching. Whatever option you choose, know that there is an option for you. And most people wait too long.
Yeah.
They wait until the hurt and the suffering and the misunderstandings have come to such a severe point that it is a lot more to work through. So my plea is, don't wait. Even if you're in a good marriage and you want to just improve it, that's okay. You don't have to coach forever. Come in for a little bit and we'll help, give you some more tools. But if you are in a high conflict or high suffering or sexless or some of those other really difficult situations, contact us.
We're here to help. We'd love to help you. Until next time.
Keep undressing your intimacy.
Bye.